You are about to witness scenes of war and of everyday life in a war-torn country as you have never seen on the evening news. This is the personal, private life experienced by soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who fought in Vietnam between 1956 and 1975. This is their story. The Vietnam Archives Incorporated has for 10 years collected 8mm amateur film footage from U.S. military personnel who were stationed in the Republic of Vietnam during the war. The Archives, which is not a government agency, transfers home movie footage for Vietnam veterans. The films you are about to see were contributed by their owners under a license agreement to the Vietnam Archives. Vietnam veterans who believe they can contribute 8mm film footage of historical significance or for any reason depicts unusual or unique activities may contact the archives at the Vietnam Archives Incorporated, Box 16190, Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46216. In all cases, the narration which accompanies the 8mm film footage used in the Vietnam Home Movies series was recorded in the home of the contributor. This narration is candid and spontaneous. It was not rehearsed, and no script was written. In some cases, the narration is condensed from hours of interviews. In 1967, Major Alfred DeMilo was a warrant officer in the 1st Cavalry Division. Then Warrant Officer DeMilo piloted a UH-1 Huey gunship with Delta Troop of the 229th Assault Helicopter Company. The unit insignia was the Smiling Tiger. This footage is from a time period which included 3 tours in Vietnam. Today, Major Alfred DeMilo is retired from the military and flies a Lifeline helicopter in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, Volume 1, Part 1 of Vietnam Home Movies, The Smiling Tiger.
There's Sam the Fart, the little puppy we had. Crew Chief Bernie Hooper's holding him. Bernie later went on to become General John J. Tolson's crew chief. He was the commanding general of the 1st Air Cav. We took our puppies with us flying quite often. And they were coming over the ridge into the Onlo Valley. It was really a bad place when I first got there in April of '67. They weren't even leaving ground troops in there at night. I pulled them out. We're just on a routine extraction on this particular morning. Noticed the lying fog and clouds at the bottom of the valley. And there's Titty Mountain right there by the bend of the Onlo River. And we're coming into the area which once was the Onlo Village, has now all been cleaned out. There aren't any buildings left. There's the red smoke, and it's a cold extraction right now. It's evident because we're using CH-47 Chinooks, which would pose a big target, and pulling out a company-size element. And the last extraction will be done by Slicks UH-1s, and they're on short final. A little bit of moisture there on the windshield, and water in the patties, evidently. It's the rainy season. I believe the Slicks took a little fire coming out of here, just some sniper fire, so we just had a general location, so we're just going to hose the area down, and that quieted it down. We didn't receive any more fire. They didn't shoot at the gunships. They took a couple pot shots at the slicks. You could see the tracers going in. Those are from flex guns, 4 M60s mounted. Now we're climbing back up the mountain. And once we reach the top, we'll look down at the Bong Son Plain, which is a beautiful area. It was one of the heaviest producers of rice in the two-corps area of Vietnam. And just about the top, we're at about 23 to 2,500 feet there, and we'll just stay low level down to the other side. And here we are on short final to LZ English Point in the south. I lived at English for about on and off for about 7 months. And we're coming into POL point where the gunships refueled. The slicks refueled the area right to our front there. We're about 12 points there, and the gunships rearmed and refueled on this road. I was flying wingman to this ship in front of me this particular day. Traffic would stop for us here, and we'd pull in and load up with gas. The blivet there on the right is where we got our fuel from. Tight shot of the engine. Here we are in a, looks like 8 slick formation, flying gun escort. There's yours truly behind the rocket site. That's down for dramatics. And we're up at Dock Toe. First Air Cav went up with the 1st to 12th Infantry Bravo 229th Killer Spade slicks and 2nd Platoon of Delta 229th guns. If you watch to the upper left in the white smoke, you'll see some flashes in that area. That's the Willie Peter on the ground, and you're taking some fire out of that smoke. And we put the rockets back on. If you watch for the flashes, the white smoke indicate there's one flash that the artillery shut off. There's the second flash. Now watch where my rockets go. That is muzzle flashes were coming up at us. That's what they look like, just like somebody taking your picture with a camera. And we hosed the area down pretty good, and that quieted the fire down. The slicks are off to our right. And we brake before we go right over the target area. The whisker sticking up there in most of the pictures is from the FM antenna. It's a B model, and you can just see Dock Toe is the brown spot in the rear of the picture there. There were 2 C-130s burning on the airstrip that particular day. The place was under constant attack. There's 2 slicks on short final down to the LZ. And we're just covering them to make sure that they don't, to deter any fire or to shoot back if they do take fire going in there. Slick coming out. And I'm underneath the slicks this time looking up. I don't know what I'm doing down there, just probably trying to root out some bad guys and pick up an easy kill. The craters on the LZ there from artillery. And 2 slicks on short final there. There's looks like 3. Still some smoke. Got some artillery still going in at the top of the hill. Keep heads down up there if there's anybody left in there, which I'm sure there are. More slicks at the bottom of the picture. This is an LZ we called the garage because the slicks had to pull in nose first and then back out. Those trees are 100 to 150 feet tall, and I really got a hand to the slick drivers. They had to land everywhere, and I was fortunate enough in a gunship where I only had to land and take off from secure areas unless there was an emergency. They couldn't set down in an LZ like that because of all the debris. Here we are in 668, the good B model called the bra strap, because it had so much give in it. It seemed like every week or so it needed everything on it tightened up, but it had plenty of power and the 4 flex guns, and it never let us down. Here's a minigun ship. It had 7 rockets on each side, total of 14. And then the minigun, which is capable of 4,000 rounds a minute per gun, which stepped down, and we fired them at 2,000 per gun. And we fired our rockets 1 punch at a time and gave us 14 punches instead of shooting at pairs and getting 7. There's our company insignia, the Smiling Tiger, and it was designed by Walt Disney. Comes Mike Tarsi, crew chief and door gunner extraordinaire, one of the best guys I ever met over there, was from Boston. Was there a long time before I got there. And we're coming up through the Bongson Pass to the town of Bongson. This little pagoda was a nice landmark to go by every day. It was in good shape when I got there, in good shape when I left 7 months later, and it was always something nice to go by and see. Reminder of a little sanity in the war. And there's the Bongson River, and coming up on the town of Bongson. We used to sink quite a few boats on that river at night. My company had the night mission of the 1st Air Cav, so we flew day and night. And we're coming up, this is Highway 1, the main highway of the country, and runs from north to south. It's just a dirt road. You could see how lush it was in that area when there was plenty of rain. It was really beautiful at Bongson. And you can tell that the ride in the B model isn't that smooth, but it beat walking. Off to our left would be LZ Tubits, which you can't see. And we were coming up on English. And here we are on some pretty big mountains. Looks like we're up in the Sangre Valley here. This is we crossed into the I-Corps border. We're on an assault here and shooting it up, and then the picture stops abruptly because we took some fire. And here's a ship, took the 50 hit, came up between the aircraft commander's pedals, between his legs, went through the co-pilot's armor seat, and then it hit the door gunner in the head, and it killed him instantly, and he sort of fell out on the pylon there and bled on the airplane. And then the aircraft took one more hit in the tail as he made his break. And this is Bateau Special Forces Camp. I guess at that same day, and just look at the kids they're waiting around for a handout. Sangre again, there's the slicks up going through a rain shower. Looks like we have 6 of them, and we're tagging along, waiting for somebody to shoot at them, and so we could roll in and put the wazoo on them, as we used to say. But in the Sangre, we got the wazoo put on us, I think, more than we put it on them. It was in August '67. There's Mike Tarsi again. Hi, Mike. Another door, this is the door gunner on the other side. Can't remember his name. He was flying with that particular day. And there's my main man, the chief, Lynn Freeman. And here's the jet working out. I think we're just sitting on the steps of the hooch watching the war go by one day, and they just started bombing the hillside near the LZ. This is at LZ English. To the right of that smoke would be LZ Laramie. They were always bombing something in that area. There's my hooch, the Rock, and the piss tube next to it. I built that thing out of rocket boxes when my tent rotted down. Straightened every nail by hand and built all the 2x4s myself. That was the company street. And here we are south of Von K, working in a recon one day, and found some hooches and bunkers, and the Air Force FAC asked us to put an airstrike on it. We said, sure, go ahead. And so there's the jet coming by, and gonna put it on our smoke, and they were real good for blowing away the jungle, so we could get in there and see exactly what's down in there. There's a nice flash. So we're just out cruising while the Air Force is working out. There's one, he came right over top of us. The ever-present FM antenna on that B model sticking up there again. And we're going to check the area out. I think that he blew the jungle away, like I said, and didn't exactly hit what we wanted, but he got the jungle blown away. And there's another helicopter dropping a mark for me. And I'm going to go in and see if I can't blow up with the Air Force uncovered and try to get a couple rockets right in this bunker. There's the mark of the Wilson Pickett. Oh yeah, there we go, right on. Oh yeah, not bad shooting for a kid. That's a B model chunker ship. That's what that other black thing is. Now we have a scumbag down here in a bunker that we found later on that day, and if you could see the flashes going off over my right over my shoulder there, that was the 40 millimeter going off, and yeah, we put it on him. Here's yours truly filling out the logbook. A little bit ornery at that time, and watching off in the background is my buddy First Lieutenant Billy Overmole. Got a chuckle out of that. There's the front of that 40 millimeter ship we called the Chunker. It was he named it Sting, Bilbo Baggins' sword, and we were taking off down that road, taking off to the south of English. This will give you some indication on how rough riding a B model Huey is. They weren't very fast. They could only get up to maybe 75 knots at cruise. I think the fastest I ever had one was about 96 knots in a dive, and I don't think that the speed was the main concern in 1967 and 68. It was who could get to the target with the most ammunition, and that B model would bring it. And you could stay and loiter longer than Charlie models because they usually had to cut down on fuel or ammunition, where the B model could fly fully loaded. It didn't fly fast, but it would get you there. It had plenty of power to pick up its load. And that was an extraction there at, over by Wiese Village. And here we are above the cloud layer. I believe we're going to make an air assault into the Onlow Valley through a cloud layer in formation. Something that you couldn't get me to do today, because nobody really knows how thick the clouds are. And here we broke out, and everybody made it. And the ceiling's only about 300 feet, and we're going to start our prep on this LZ. There was probably about 8 to 12 ships that came down through that. There's the Willie Pete from the artillery. It means the artillery is shut off, and here comes my rockets. There's another one. Okay. Now, we shut the camera off there while we were covering the slicks, and now we're working our way back out of the Onlow, right past the same area we opened up with the extraction. And you can tell that we did like to fly low level, especially the guns. That way you could have an opportunity to catch somebody in the open and put it on them. I particularly had a bad experience in there one night, hovering down that river at night looking for traffic with a searchlight. Needless to say, we only had to do that a couple of times because it was kind of suicidal. This was all villages at one time. There's nothing left standing. When the Cav left 2 Corps, this area, it looked like it was nuked. It was completely defoliated. The whole valley was brown. There's some kids at the Bateau Special Forces camp lining up for a family picture there. We had some time to kill. They're sitting away to go on a mission that we had baited in LZ that we abandoned earlier in the day. And we left sea rations and ammunition laying around in an alert team to watch, because we knew that the enemy would come down to pick it up. So we're just waiting for the call to go. And there's some of the slick crews taking a dip in the river. The slicks are lined up, and we're just waiting for the word. There's a Mountain Yard village in the background there, Mountain Yard boat. And some of the kids. This one little fellow has a dead bird hanging around his neck. There he is in the pith helmet. I wonder what Uncle NVA gave him that pith helmet. And they believe that bird would ward off evil spirits or sickness, whatever, but probably just wore off with the smell. Well, the kids must have stole something, because they're running now. Somebody's after them. And here's one that isn't housebroken yet. Well, we got the word, and the bad guys are caught on the LZ, and we got them ringed with artillery, and the slicks are to the center right your screen there on short final, and here comes the Willie Peter, the Wilson Pickett, or the white phosphorus, whatever you want to call it. It indicates the artillery shut off. There'll be a black streak coming down from the top of the screen, top left. That's the ARA bird firing in there. And then I'm going to start my prep. Just as the slicks get on short final, we try to keep continuous fire on the LZ at all time to protect the vulnerable slick helicopters when they're making their approach. There are my tracers going in the bottom left from the miniguns, and this operation was successful. I don't remember exactly how many people the net kill yielded, but there were 15 to 20 people, as I remember, if I remember correctly. And making our break. And here we are at LZ Evans some months later during a Tet offensive. That was Carl Crow giving us the sign there. And this is LZ Evans, which expanded probably 10 times its size once the Cav took it over from the Marines. There's the shitter. So anytime you went to the bathroom, everybody knew about it. And there's the first Cav's helicopters, some of them mostly ours. Here's a ship I was shot down in, and it had been extracted from where I was shot down. All the white marks are bullet holes. And they brought it to LZ Evans, and now Chinook's going to pick it up and take it to, I believe, Red Beach, where our maintenance was down around Da Nang. I won the Silver Star in that aircraft. And there's a crew chief waiting to hook it up. The tail rotor drive was shot in half. I was fortunate enough to get it down, and that's what I'm looking at in that hole. You can't really see it. There's Tarsi again. What'd you do to my aircraft? I believe the number on it was 103. I'd been down in that aircraft once before. So you could either say it was bad luck or good luck, because I walked away from both of them. Here comes our dog Raider. Had longevity on all the animals there. Good dog. Didn't look like much. It was very smart. There's an ARA bird. 24 rockets on each side. ARA for aerial rocket artillery. 2nd of the 20th. And here comes the Chinook to get 103. This was during the Tet offensive, so as the Chinook left Evans, a lot of times they'd start taking fire and they'd just punch off or drop the aircraft underneath them and then head for the clouds. And we used to take bets on whether the aircraft would get to the coast or not without dropping the Huey. There's a few tax dollars laying out there in the white sand area. Well, it's hooked up, and the Chinook's going to take it away. There's Ronald Schrank, myself, and Melvin Utley, my platoon leader. Again, we don't know what to do in front of the camera, so we'll get out our 38s and point around and That's what I'd like to have done at the time, shoot myself in the foot to get out of Tet. That's the only way to get out of there. Things weren't too good then. And here we're going to skip a few years. In 1971, my third tour, flying a snake in Cambodia. Guy in the front seat's taking the pictures. And here's a river. We're in a free fire zone. That river, though, was lined with bunkers, some of them concrete. Putting the zoom in on the camera. When he pulls back with the zoom, you'll notice two red or orange dye markers very quickly. They were from my flechette rockets that we put in the area. There they are, the two dye marks. Meant that the rockets actuated the flechettes and they put out thousands of little darts into that area. There's no noise, so as you get the dye marker, and just covered the area with what we called nails. So I'm coming back around, and there's something burning in the background. I'm going to make a pass on that with a 20 millimeter, and that tracer's 4 and 1, so you're seeing 4 bullets for every tracer, and you can see that 20 millimeter is accurate, and that is firing stowed, and I'm controlling the accuracy with the pedals. Same area. Here's a town in Cambodia. It was a free fire zone. All the population was gone. The only people down there were bad guys, and so on the way home if we had a load and coming back in, would dump on this place. Get Chuck stirred up a little bit. Where most of the people we fought in Cambodia were NVA. And you can see a Cobra can get into pretty tight turn, pretty steep. And here we're going to really whoop it on them this time. Oh yeah. And we got them stirred up down there a little bit. We're just to the west of Tain Inn, near a place we used to call Snoopy's Head because the river looked like that on the map. That's it.